Bases dropped on Soccer's morning show. It's another week of soccer down here. John here, Jared there. So how was your weekend?
I have spent the last, 3 months emotionally preparing for whatever the hell was going to happen at Mercedes-Benz Stadium on Saturday night.
And then
I've spent an almost equal amount of time trying to warn people, like Woody Harrelson's character in the Cinematic Classic 2012,
right,
where he plays like the almost like George Norrie-esque. For those of you who have partaken in Coast to Coast AM at some point in your life,
exactly.
I tried to warn everyone that nothing about Atlanta and San Jose has ever been normal. It's the weirdest thing because it's two teams that you wouldn't peg for a weird game, right?
Yep.
Like, if you told me that, hey man, Atlanta, Orlando, it's fierce, it gets weird. Like, yeah, I could believe that. Cali Glasgow gets weird. San Jose and LAFC, as Bam will attest to, always gets weird because for some reason, San Jose gets up for LAFC, kind of like how, like, South Carolina for so long got up to play Georgia and just basically would just throw spikes out on the road, like a spike strip out on the road in front of UGA. It wouldn't do anything else the rest of the year, except that one year that Steven Garcia and Alshon Jeffrey just decided to keep running fade routes against Alabama, and it worked. The funniest damn game I've ever seen. But they just kind of showed up to torment them. San Jose generally shows up to torment LAFC. Atlanta and San Jose is such a weird relationship because they exist in this chaos dimension, but there's no reason for them to exist there together. They just do. They're tied by fate. And I warned people for months, and I felt like it almost wasn't enough because, good God.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even just them, by the way. It was the rest of the damn league, too.
We'll get into that.
Saturday night was so stupid in this league. Even last night was stupid.
Yeah.
Like, Seattle was out there scoring the dumbest looking goals you've ever seen.
You're correct.
Actually, technically, it's not even done yet, y'all. We got Portland tonight.
Yeah, because of Mother Nature.
Yeah, because the West Coast is burying itself under snow.
So we've got a night game in Portland tonight, and we got stuff to talk about all day and obviously all week to get ready for Toronto FC. But before we get into that, let's get into opening kickoff. Brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee. KickoffCoffeeCO.com. And there's your QR code for those of you watching on Twitch. And it had to do with part of the chaos of the weekend. And for this, we're going to go to Q2 and discuss St. Louis City SC and Austin in a game that was absolutely off the rails. Bananas, stupid, forget about it. Yeah, it's off the rails. So there was a moment in the match where I believe it was 2-1 at this point. And Jared Stroud, formerly of Austin FC, is behind the play. And he is the only individual between the ball and Brad Stuver. Kip Keller, and there's a screen cap that is posted where Jared Stroud, once again, former Austin FCer, is calling for the ball. The assumption is in this screen cap with arms out wide, palms up, Stroud is yelling at Kip Keller to pass him the ball in some manner, way, shape, or form. Keller does this. Keller turns, passes it back to Jared Stroud. Jared Stroud puts it past Brad Stuver to tie it at 2. And St. Louis City SC would eventually win at Q2 by the score of 3-2.
Welcome to MLS, Austin. Oh, that's great. Y'all figured it out in year 2 and made it to the Western Conference Final, where you lost to the eventual champions in a hard-fought game. That's awesome, man. That's something you can build on. How are you going to start the next year? Oh, you get to play an expansion team in your home arena, which is quickly becoming a really fun venue around the country. Great. Well, you're going to lose to that expansion team in the dumbest way possible. I hope you're emotionally ready for this. But hey, man, if 2018 taught us anything, it's that the opening weekend isn't that big of a deal sometimes. It's not. It doesn't define your entire existence. Y'all have fun with this.
Yep. And now, apparently, depending on who you talk to, Jared Stroud is either number one villain. I mean, like top of the charts. This is like Billboard single hits, and it just goes, it's like Taylor Swift, right to the top of the charts. Or they get, that he didn't celebrate. He should have. There was, he was underused by Josh Wolf. Therefore, he should have celebrated. You have those that were fans of Jared Stroud when he was in Austin, or those who are basically saying because of what he did. And this is one of the responses as a part of the timeline. And this is what I wanted to get into here for opening kickoff this morning. One of the responses, direct quote, with some cleaning up. We have to say F Stroud. That's dirty AF. And the South End said he was calling for the ball on Kippy's back pass. We never understood why he wasn't utilized more when here, but that's 2 plays at least that are trash and deserve zero respect. So, opening kickoff this morning. If you're Jared Stroud, if you, dear watcher / listener / Jarrett Smith, if you are Jared Stroud, you're down a goal in the 78th minute, and you have a history with the team that you're playing, do you do what Jared Stroud did, apparently by anecdotal evidence, calling for the ball from an ex-teammate, turning around, scoring, tying the game that you would eventually win? If you're Jared Stroud, do you do something like that? Here's Jared's quote after the match. He says, "Kip's a good friend of mine." Stroud said, his voice confirming how bad he felt for Keller. Stroud said Keller looked at him twice. Maybe he recognized me, he said. And then without looking, played it to him. Quote, "I feel bad for him, but I was happy to score. It was like, shoot it. I didn't think twice. He knew what to do. I played against that goalie for 2 years," Jared Stroud said. So, Jared, if you were Jared Stroud in that situation, what, sir, are you doing?
I mean, it's so weird. Because I like that everybody has decided to Zapruder this. Because when it happened, we were watching it and we were talking about it. I'm like, man, it's like the pressure's he's got a little pressure on him, but it's not like he's got to get it out immediately. It's almost like he just decided, hey, I can't go anywhere with this. I'm going to turn around and play it back, and then just played it right to Stroud. I don't know if like he heard Stroud yelling and thought it was Brad Stuver. I don't know if he saw Jared Stroud's face and went, "There's a familiar, friendly face that I know and love and can trust with all of my heart and the rest of my job." Mm-hmm. I don't know why he did what he did, but he just turned around and played it right to him. Mm-hmm. It was kind of like in The Waterboy when Bobby Boucher picks off a pass and then tosses it to the lineman so that he has an excuse to land a missile drop kick on him. It was a very odd and stupid play, and the whole weekend was very odd and stupid. Like, a couple of things went to script, like Nashville beating New York City with an early goal, and then Hani Mukhtar coming off the bench, and they scored on a counter because New York City was kind of toothless and trying to organize in the half court, for across the metaphors a bit. Like, some of that was, that went to script. A lot of this weekend just went stupid. And I appreciate that about all of them, because it should always be stupid.
Yep. David, the Austin back pass giveaway was an all-timer. And Knicks, you don't live that down, I don't think. So that's what you're staring at here. And I just wanted to ask those of you in the Twitch pitch and to Jared_Smith. If you were Jared Stroud in that situation, would you do what he apparently, allegedly, maybe, probably did, calling out to an ex-teammate, hands, and you see the still is there, the hands are out. Hey, I'm waiting for it. And so Kip Keller turns to his left, passes it back. Stroud turns and fires, and it's 2-2 on an eventual win. So, but yeah, I wanted to canvass opinions as to if that would be something that you, soccer player, four card, absolutely would do it.
This happened in England a couple years ago, I think.
I think so, yeah.
Where like a ball's coming across the box, the defender's not going to get to it. He's behind the attacker, and he shouts like, "Hey, let it go! I got it!" And the guy lets it go to be unselfish. It just rolls to the defender's feet. I think it was in England. I remember seeing this GIF, and everybody got really upset because at that point, it's not the law of the game that people were mad about. It's the spirit of the game.
Yeah,
where people are trying to figure out, like, where do we draw the line with the spirit of the game of, hey, that's fine, that's just that's just gamesmanship, or yeah, that ain't cool.
Well, here's your comments so far. Ricky Ricardo, you got to try it. Pilgrim, yep. LOL, give me the ball. I'm going full evil. Bart, who is our resident official, Bart says this happens all the time in soccer. Doesn't even have to be a former teammate. And Michael Valverde has said it was beautifully dirty. So that's
beautifully dirty might be the best description of everything that's happened.
Yeah, beautifully dirty. So
I feel bad. Look, I do feel bad for Keller. Like, that's because the second, and because like I said, we thought when it happened, I thought like, man, he just turned around and like passed it without thinking about it, knowing his keeper is back there, and it was just as instinctive to us as breathing.
Yep.
At least that's what we thought.
Yeah.
Now we have more questions, but I feel bad for him because the second his leg was going forward toward the ball, something in his brain went, this is a terrible decision we're making, but we're gonna make it. And we've already made it.
Mm-hmm. That is correct. So, yeah, the decision had been made, and the ball goes backward, and it goes to an ex-teammate, and Jared Stroud puts it in the back of the net. The discussion from Burned, wondering about how St. Louis looked. Are they good? Sean, in response, Austin was asleep. So that's probably what you're looking at. I mean, it was Austin early, then St. Louis comes back, and then the chaos started, and it goes back and forth, and St. Louis gets the win 3-2. Yeah, Tom Russo, don't know, but beating one of the preseason West favorites on the road to open your franchise is pretty strong. And 4-card about the actual pass. I bet he, meaning Kip Keller, thinks twice about any pass from now on. Yeah, look both ways before crossing the street. I think that's probably how it's going to be for Kip Keller going forward. So there you go. And that's your opening kickoff. Like I said, I just wanted to see what you guys thought about that particular moment. Brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee. There's your QR code, kickoffcoffeeco.com right there. Don't forget, with Kickoff Coffee, use the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% off of any purchase that you have with our friends at Kickoff Coffee. They, in turn, take 10% and reinvest it into the youth game with our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So, Jared, I heard there was a match this weekend. It was kind of crazy. And it's the one that you were talking about, the one that we've been talking about. We know a lot of folks will talk about it. And so we'll start hour number one, since you're here, discussing Atlanta United. Get into the rest of the league and the news of the day, and there is some news updating everybody after the weekend that happened. We'll get into that in hour number two when Jarrett goes away. But Atlanta United, they were down. They were down 1-0, and then things kind of happened. So I guess, Jarrett, let's take it from your perspective, I guess 45 minutes at a time, and what you thought about Atlanta United. For once again, and this is, we did salty takeaways after the match. And when we have the opportunities to do salty after matches, we will do them. But just to kind of, now that you've had time after salty to think about it for a while, what did you think about the first 45?
It's goals change games.
Yeah.
And they changed the game state. Like San Jose looks really good for those first. They came out of the blocks like first 10 minutes or so.
Yeah.
Thought they looked really good. I thought Atlanta weathered it, and then they didn't.
Yeah.
So I went back and looked at it. I went back and jiffed it. Like the guy who I'm most disappointed with is still Juanjo Purata, because if you go back and look at that goal that Bobasi scores, look where Purata is, because you have the long diagonal to the right, and then you have Andrew Gutman covering that. Purata is in the middle of the box and then just kind of drifts like a jellyfish in the current out towards Gutman, but doesn't actually double down on his press. It doesn't actually do the double team. He just kind of sits in space, but he abandons the middle of the box, which means that when Kay Cowell makes his run, that Miles Robinson has to cut over, and Miles Robinson has to cut off that run. Well, that leaves Jeremy Ebobisse, who was really good on the night, I thought. That leaves Jeremy Ebobisse with a lot of space on the back post. He waits a half beat, makes his run to the back post. Brooks Lennon is trying to cut in at that point from the backside to cover him. Brooks isn't going to get there in time, and he's also not going to be able to get position in front of him so that it becomes a layup. The problem is, man, we've seen this from Purata twice now. We saw it in Chattanooga. Well, not exact same, but similar thing where he kind of got caught between ideas at literally the worst possible time to get caught between ideas. But you have a goal that changes things, and San Jose starts to sit a bit more. As the half goes on, they get a couple chances. There's one in the first half where it's a similar situation. Andrew Gutman locks it the hell down. For as much, and I know Gutman was getting flack early in the game. There's one opportunity midway through second part of the first half where it's an opportunity to cross, and he forces Kate Cowell into a shot near post, and Guzan has it measured. He has it taken care of. It's not a huge chance, because Gutman basically forced him into taking that narrow shot. If he had allowed him to take the cross, Ebobisse had the run and had a step or two on, I think it was Purata or Robinson, one of them, but he had a step on them. And I believe it's Gutman who locks him down and forces him into it. And it's a huge moment, because if they go up 2-0 there, your goose is cooked pretty much.
Yeah.
They were fine sitting back as it was after that, and Atlanta started to get more of the game. And the thing that I liked about what they did, amongst the many things that were frustrating early in the half, it seemed like the counter pressure was better. They weren't letting San Jose turn on the ball. They were forcing them to make sloppy passes. And it's not just, picking passes off. It's, they know you're on their back, so they're going to have to one touch it, and it gets sloppy, and then it leads to something. It's just the whole thing. The whole first half just had a little air of frustration, because you just were waiting for it to turn on. Then you get the penalty, and Luis Araujo takes the penalty, and because I know everybody's trying to figure out what the hell happened. I think he was just trying to be too cute with it, the little start stop. I think he's trying to see if he can get the keeper going, committing one way or another. He gets him going the wrong way, and I think, wasn't able to ask him. I think he's trying to kind of wrap his foot around it and curl it into the corner smoothly, and then just doesn't. Almost like you're trying to hit a little bit of a draw on your shot, and then you end up hitting it straight down the fairway.
Well, and this is what I would recommend to folks too, is that when you see, I look at set pieces or more specifically PKs, almost like field goals in the other football, because when you see a field goal miss, the first thing I do is look at feet. and you look at where the plant foot is pointed, and traditionally in American football, that's where the ball is going to go. From the end zone shot and from some of the angles that I saw, it looked like Luis's plant foot was pointed farther away from the post than it would be in these kinds of situations. So for me, looking at it in retrospect, I sit there and I see the plant foot going wide. That's where the ball went. I think that Luis was trying to power it through, but that plant foot was further wide than it should have been, and that's why you got the response from the ball that you did. So that, like I said, this is just something that I analyze in retrospect. I just sit there and I look at these kinds of things and I'm like, okay, what happened? If you're trying to power something through, to me, it's like a place kick or a field goal attempt in American football. Look at the plant foot, see where the plant foot's pointed, and then that's where the ball ends up going. And I think that that's what happened in this case.
And to Burns' point, because he's talking about transition defense.
Mm-hmm.
I know, man. Like, I'm gonna make a drinking game out of Franco Ibarra discussions.
Yeah,
it just gives me heartburn at this point.
Yeah, it does.
But that's one of the areas that Gonzalo Pineda was, I think, critical of him was, in those transition moments, kind of leaving the defense out to dry.
Yeah.
And something he has to do better at if he's going to, be on the field getting opportunities. He has to. Like, that's not up for debate, man. Like, especially the way they play, and they're going to get bodies forward. Like, you look at the way they shape up in the attack when it's Andrew Gutman pouring forward, or it's Brooks Lennon pouring forward, one of them. And a lot of times it was Brooks Lennon. And Brooks Lennon was staying way the hell up the field, heels basically on the far sideline, and creating a ton of space for a guy like Luis Araujo to cook.
Yep.
He cooked to varying degrees of success, more so in the second half, less so in the first half.
Right.
I still think, dude, like, after the preseason, I'm not sure why he would be pressing, but it felt like he was pressing, especially in the second half. Like,
because
it means he realized he's made a mistake, and he's trying so hard to try and make up for it.
Yeah.
And you just keep digging the damn hole deeper, 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 man. Like, take a touch, take a breath, because he was getting into good spots in the second half when they were breaking out in transition. He and Almada, there are a couple in the second half, a couple sequences where it looks good, and then it's almost like he's just like, side of goal, gotta go, gotta make something happen here, man. Just take another touch, just take a breath, because you're gonna be okay, man. Like, you don't have to press that hard, but yeah, as much as they want to get forward, and as much as they're going to be a bit exposed in the back because they're getting bodies forward. Whoever it is, whether it's Ibarra, whether it's Sosa, whether it is Ozzie Alonso, you gotta keep that integrity and that shape, and you got to be in the right spots. And like, look, the thing with Franco was, he had a couple really good tackles in that game. Unfortunately, a couple of them were cleaning up his own messes, which you would rather him clean up his messes than not clean up his messes.
Right.
You would also rather him not make the mess at all.
Yes.
So that's kind of a big part of that.
Yeah. So then we get to Atlanta United down 1-0, and we get to the clock turning 90. And so I'm going to hopefully not blow folks' ears out with what I'm going to attempt here. So let's see what happens. It was 1-0. Then it turned into 1-1. Here's both looks, courtesy of our friends at Apple TV Plus and 92.9 The Game. Kevin Egan on the call, and Kendra D. St. Aubin was with him in the booth, and then Mike and Jason on 92.9 The Game.
Atlanta's fans, rowdy and proud, they'll always show up. Will they be rewarded with a late equalizer here? Almada takes it, edge of the area, shoots. Almada! Spectacular from the World Cup champion. And in the 93rd minute, we're all square inside Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
Thiago Almada. You got to touch, got to get closer to the ball than that. That's too late of pressure. A really nice corner finds him on top of the 18. He's about 22 yards out. Gubin falls to his knees as this ball goes in. He has done so much work up that left-hand side. He's the one who creates the corner. And a ball played on top of the box. Almada makes no mistake about that one. Loves that top corner finish, doesn't he?
He certainly does indeed.
Lennon to send it down to the far corner. Goal to our right. No short corner option. Lennon will go to the top of the 18. Here's Almada. Takes the shot. Shoots. Score! The world champion, Thiago Almada, the World Cup champion for Argentina, may have just saved at least a point for Atlanta United.
So we're at 1-1 at that point. And I will
big 2021 Philadelphia vibes.
Yeah.
Where, oh God, who was it? It wasn't Glesnes, was it? Who was it who hit the rocket?
Oh yeah, it was Glesnes who hit the
Glesnes
bomb from 35. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's that thing of, man, with some of these guys, you have to close them down. Like, you can't give them an inch.
How do you leave Thiago Almada unmarked?
That's the thing is, and Kendra talks about it in the TV call of, that's too much space, and they close him down fairly quickly, like for the way we see it. Like, but this is the thing, like compared to basketball, for instance, where like you watch people play basketball in a professional sense, and if you ever went and played with them, you have no idea how fast they are. Like when people talk about like playing pickup with people who had played at a high level, like, yeah, man, they're just fast. Like, you're not getting a shot off in a professional basketball game. Not because you can't shoot, but because I promise you can't shoot fast enough accurately. You can flick it up there like you got the Kevin Martin shot from the mid 2000s where he just kind of flipped his wrist like Sean Marion-esque.
Yep.
But otherwise, you're not getting a shot away, and they try to close him down, but like that close down would have been fast enough for us. For a mere mortal, that close down would have been fast enough.
Yep.
Thiago Almada already had it measured out. He had already done the calculus in his head on it. At that point, it was like, you're dead. You're dead, but you just don't know it yet.
Oh, yeah. Opta had the shot clocked at 39 miles an hour.
That's moving. Like, and I get it. Like when we think about.
That's a ticket in a subdivision if the cop is having
a school zone.
Yes. It's a ticket in a school zone if the cop's having a bad day.
Yeah.
39 miles an hour, and he was unmarked at the elbow. and I give the 17s. I give you a lot of credit because it was a point that I made in
Holy hell.
I mean, yeah, well, we'll get to that. We'll
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, we'll get to that. That gives me an excuse to use the breaking news as we go.
Okay.
And I know what you're talking about. So, but that gets us to 1-1, and I give the 17s a lot of credit because I had said in Prescription to Victory that there was going to be a moment where the guys were going to need the 17s to pull them through. And in the last 20 minutes, that's what you did. And you guys were fantastic, and you were loud, and it was awesome. Now, all right, since we've all seen it.
Damaging my calm.
Do it. Since we've seen it, here we go. And gives us a chance to hit this. Jurgen Klinsmann is employed. South Korea. The national team of South Korea has hired Jurgen Klinsmann as their manager.
I love this. Okay, so first of all, I loved the breaking news sounder because at the beginning of it, the sound of it has just the slightest touch of like tracking audio, like an early 90s VHS.
Well, that is, frankly, that breaking news sounder is probably from the early 90s.
But you can hear the audio warp a bit. Like if you remember putting a VHS in when it would do the tracking bar at the bottom of your screen, that's what it was. It was beautiful. Okay, South Korea, cool. Good luck, I guess. And whatever.
Yep.
Live your best life, I guess.
Press conference. Coach of the Korean national soccer team. Welcome to South Korea, Jurgen Klinsmann.
Hey, Wile E. Coyote, we did not get a deep. I don't know if we have a decibel measure, but they took the glass off the press box this year, and it was deafening.
Yes.
I don't know how it sounded in the bowl. I know that on both goals, especially the second one, it was absolutely deafening in that building for a split second.
Yes. Okay, here's your early comment. There's your early comment of the day right there.
Will's chosen violence early in the morning.
Well, it's a Monday. I can understand it. So Will says, who's ready for Son to get left off the 26 World Cup roster for no reason whatsoever? Quoting Coco in response, he's not a fit for Jurgi's system. Oh, my God. Yes. And Nick's Clinzy must just give good interview. That's the only thing I can say about this. Ricky, actually care about South Korea, so yay, I hate this. And Will gives you credit for saying damaging my calm. It's an all-time great perturbed statement. So, Jurgen Klinsmann and South Korea, they're new buddies. Congratulations. Proud for you. And, good on you. So, you go right ahead. New manager of the national team, Jurgen Klinsmann. So, Mazel Tov on a Monday. You go right ahead. Not far from the notion, Will, like I said, not far from that notion of Son getting left off the 26 Cup roster for no reason whatsoever. But yeah.
Okay, Jurgen. So I wonder if he has also convinced them to let him run the football operation, not just coach, but run everything.
Yep. And so Tom, just wants me to get a really old sounder and just have it be like Walter Winchell and go, Flash! Dateline, Seoul, South Korea. Jurgen Klinsmann now has a new job, and he's now the new head coach of the national team for South Korea. South Korea could not be reached for comment. Something like that. Sam Williamson. Son's about to pull a Jose if I speak. Not a surprise. All right, so we've hit that, and obviously it'll be a talking point for the morning. So we're at 1-1.
I need to know if he's going to be in charge of more than just playing. Is he going to be in charge of the entire? Is he going to be making executive decisions for the federation? I need to know. This is just
So that should come out in the press conference tomorrow, 2:00 local time in Seoul. So that probably puts it around midnight or 11 o'clock our time. All right, so we're at 1-1. And to Jarrett's point, with the press box being open now, it's difficult for us to talk to one another in situations like it being 1-1. And like I said, I give you 17s a boatload of credit. You guys were fantastic in the final 20 minutes and being a part of that building. And Luchi Gonzalez, Jarrett mentioned it in the post-game press conference about Mercedes-Benz being a difficult place to play. And when you've got 67,000 of your best friends there helping you out, it's really good stuff. But Lucci knew it, and he talked about it post-match. So we're at 1-1, and the field has tilted. And Atlanta United is working their way, trying to pepper Danielle with shots upon shots upon shots. So we're at 90+8. And this happened, once again, courtesy of our friends at MLS Season Pass. And it's Kevin, I think, just on this one. And then 92.9 the game in Major League Soccer once again. It's Mike and Jason. So this happened at 90+8, provided I could boost the volume. So, tell you what. When you turn the volume down for the first one, and then you forget to turn it back up for the second one, that turns into a bit of a problem. So let me see if it actually picks up where it left off, or it starts. It started from the point where Kevin decided to call it. So we're going to let it play out for a little bit and take it back down to 0. So we're going to filibuster for a second, and so we'll let it play out. But yeah, I mean, it was. I give you guys and Coco, we will discuss Season Pass. We will discuss what you guys thought of the production value. We will discuss what you guys thought about it and how many games you watched and all this kind of stuff. The biggest thing for me is that once a match is final, I'd like to be able to see a replay. because last night while I was at halftime of Colorado and Seattle, I could not watch the Atlanta match. And I was waiting to watch the Atlanta match, especially with the local radio option for that final 20 minutes, so I could actually hear what was going on. But apparently, could not happen. Yeah, so do not know what happened there. And so we'll see what happens. And yeah, Nick's hype meter after it went 1-1 was off the charts. So now that I'm guessing that the play has actually played itself out. So we're going to try this again and actually boost the volume. So once again, it's Straight Up Kevin on Season Pass on Apple TV Plus, and Mike and Jason 92.9 The Game.
Thiago Almada will take Almada! Would you believe it? From 1-0 down, it's a brace from Thiago Almada in stoppage time. A late show.
This to win the match. Final kick of the game. Referee steps away, blows the whistle. Almada goes for goal. Score! I'm speechless. Thiago Almada wins the game for Atlanta United on a right upper 90 free kick at the death. 2 stoppage time golazos for the world champion Thiago Almada.
And I was stunned that Mike actually had a voice for the full-time report, frankly.
Oh, Mike's voice was going. Also, did you not hear that when you were talking before I guess you were running it back, it was running underneath your audio?
Oh, I was not aware of that.
Oh, yeah, it was running underneath your audio.
Okay.
And then you ran it without. Then you laid out of it. But the first time it ran with you talking over it.
Yeah, because when I hit the button the first time, it was in the middle of the call, and that's when I dumped out of it. So, yeah. So,
Mike was Mike went from being fine in that to, I think, if we had to put an injury designation on him, it'd have been like questionable.
Yes.
But Mike's voice was going on him.
Yeah, we're all day.
And yeah, Mike was day to day.
Yeah.
But I think he put everything he had in that last call.
Yeah. Well, and so Alex, God, he sounded like he was chanting his Torah portion for his bar mitzvah. Coco, we say it all the time. Consummate professional Mike Conti backing away from the mic as he gave the score call on the second goal to let it breathe, not hurt people's ear. Mike and Jason laid out for 30 seconds. The full call, that was the edited version that ran on Full-Time Report. Mike and Jason laid out for 30 seconds. And for announcers to have that innate knowledge of when to lay out, it's something that you gather over time. It's something that you know when to lay out, you know how, but it takes a while to get there. And Mike and Jason, being the absolute professionals they are, laid out for 30 seconds so everyone who was not in Mercedes-Benz could understand what was going on. And they get absolute full credit. And Alex, I'm right there with you. It's fun for me for, when you hear a pair like the two of them, when they're in absolute rhythm and one's feeding the other and the other's going, and then it's one then the other, and it's a beautiful tag team. And in moments like what we had with Atlanta and San Jose, you got that with Mike and Jason. Alex, on the drive home, he says, Heather and I sit in the car on the drive home and just beam when you get to hear Conti's goal calls back. He is so good. Coco, I also think 92.9 should swap that score call for the one they have on the radio intro for Atlanta United games. Let that voice crack live on forever. So Nick's, needless to say, the shirt came off after the second goal. Did you wave it in the air like a terrible towel? Shirt comes off. Did you wave it? The Knicks, first thing once again.
I'm sorry, we don't do terrible towel references in this part of the country, sir. If you're going to reference shirts coming off, I realize it's sacrilegious because they have a team now in their state, but we're going to go Petey Pablo with shirts coming off.
Fair enough. All right. No worries.
You may, in fact, wave around your hair. Spin it like a helicopter.
There you go. Not to mention, even those at home just needed to hear the crowd. Don't recall the stadium being like that since pre-COVID, and Knicks did a lot for the shirt spinning. So, no, I mean, it was Mike and Jason were absolutely just fantastic. And when it comes to 2024 awards presentations, they better submit this game, man. They better, as a part of Best Live. So, and we're saying this after match week 1. So, Atlanta United wins it 2-1 over San Jose, and there you go. So, when Jarrett, and this is once again, I'm breaking the fourth wall here a little bit. I was sitting next to Jarrett in the press box. And once again, 17s, you were absolutely out of your minds, and it was fantastic. And Jarrett had taken out his phone and was trying to shoot the Almada eventual game winner. Tyler Pilgrim, what are you doing, man?
Leave Tyler alone. Leave him alone.
Tyler and I
have talked about this.
Tyler and I have talked about this. Blocks your shot.
No, Tyler and I have talked about this. I'm fine with him standing up because it meant he didn't go over the railing
no,
in euphoria.
He did.
Leave Tyler alone. We were all doing the same thing. Like
everybody,
it was the same thing.
It was a cell phone moment. Literally, it was a cell phone moment. Everybody's got their phones out.
And one of the only reasons, and I looked down and Sid's doing the same thing. I'm like, man, we're going to have like multiple angles of this. This is great. Everybody's going to be able to see this from almost 360 degrees by the time we're done.
Yeah.
Someone's going to have to splice all this footage together.
Well, I think,
man,
legitimately, I think it wouldn't surprise me if Atlanta United and their social media team took a bunch of those different views and spliced it together to do a 360.
It would be good.
And if they have not thought about it, okay, think about it. Take as many of those different angles from that section of the bowl and do a mashup of all of that. So that's that would be a fun piece of video to see if you were to put say, like, because how like in certain moments you'll have all those YouTube videos of folks who are standing up and watching TV, and you get the spliced versions of all of the different reactions to a moment. Then I think that's what you're staring at here. So Tyler goes, it was my involuntary reaction in my somewhat poor defense. I wasn't used to anyone sitting back there.
Yeah, to his point, it actually was pretty crowded for the press box.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was a good time though. But we're all just the collective sound, because you're not allowed to cheer in the press box.
No,
but you do get those collective groans and like these suppressed primal noises that you can't actually control as a human being. They do happen though,
yeah.
And sometimes they happen when you get what you get. Basically, it's a weird situation because what you got goal of the week. And then you got the real goal of the week. Like, goal of the week's just going to be 2 people this week.
Yeah.
Because no matter how far we get away from, like, 2017, 2018 early days at Atlanta United, the memes are very good, that kind of thing. What you still end up with is the fact that this fan base is never going to let the bit die, and they are going to dominate the online polls. And I hope it continues, because I like to think that it puts some people in a really special hell.
Yes, I cannot wait for goal of the week. Cannot wait for the goal of the week submission to come from Major League Soccer. And the thing is,
I kind of hope they don't put it on there. They don't put either one on there just to see what happens. Like, hey, goal of the week this time is Christian Roldan playing head tennis with the goalkeeper for the first goal for Seattle,
or the Jared Stroud 2-2 equalizer, considering the context, if you were to do something like that. Or take 3 of the 4 goals from Seattle last night with the abject craziness that was attached to those. And Colorado did not look good last night. They did not look good.
No, they did not.
Did not look good.
So we're about to start having some proof of concept discussions and some long-term discussions about Colorado, depending on how the season goes. Because, 2021 was really good. Colorado goes full Island of Misfit Toys.
Yeah.
With that roster, they do really well.
Mm-hmm.
And then 2022 is disappointing for them. Had a couple of decent moments, but overall it was disappointing.
Mm-hmm.
And now you get more of this. So what you have to figure out then is what is the outlier and what is the expectation.
Yeah. Columbus, outlier or expectation? Considering what happened with them going up against Philly, Rich, figured we would mention that. You got Colorado, who just, I mean, I watched that match last night. Mark Rogandino and Heath Pierce on that one. And, yeah, Colorado did not. I mean, William Yarborough.
Yeah.
William Yarborough seemed like a defensive one back there at times. And he came up with a couple of fantastic saves. But the rebound would end up going to another individual dressed in rave green who had put it into the back of the net on a rebound. It hit some weird bounces and everything.
I cannot imagine. Like going up against Seattle, getting surprised Pikachu face and getting hit on counters all the time. Like,
yes.
What do you expect?
Yeah.
Why are you surprised by this development?
Yep. So, yeah, Nick's wanting to know if 21 for Colorado is just a freak of nature. He believes in Robin Fraser, but yeah, I mean, it was they just kept the back line just kept getting exposed with long balls that Seattle would find on the wings, and then it would be entry passes, and then bing, bing, bing off of a Rapids player off of Yarborough rebound into the back of the net. I mean, 3 of the 4 goals were just weird. 3 of the 4 goals looked like they were presented by Bally's. Well, and yeah, Ricky, we'll get into that too with Toronto collapsing to DC getting the Duke, which was weird. And we'll keep an eye on Lorenzo Insigne, non-contact knee injury. So we'll keep an eye on that this week, and we'll see if Insigne will be available for TFC as they, head down to Atlanta to take on Atlanta United next week. So, or this, well, actually next week, it's this week. It's almost like next exit, this exit. So we'll see. So yeah, I mean, we'll take a look at Toronto and DC and all these kinds of things. I mean, wild week. And I know that you guys have been talking a lot about Atlanta United and San Jose. We'll get into that coming up in hour number 2. Jared, I know that you turn into a pumpkin here shortly. What else is on your mind before you go? Anything? Anyone?
Yeah, I mean, the whole weekend was stupid.
It was.
The whole weekend was magical.
Yes.
Toronto's going to be an interesting one to deal with this week because Insigne. What are they going to look like? Did Bob Bradley actually fix the defense compared to what they were?
You and your optimism, sir.
Well, I mean, look, despite all that, they did have a lead late against DC.
Yeah.
They did actually have a lead. They didn't hang on to it, but they did possess it at one point. Much like Elsa actually did hold the cup at the end of the Last Crusade. She actually did hold it at one point before she fell to her untimely demise into a giant hole in the ground.
Yes.
But it's going to be interesting to see what they look like because, like, the argument last year was Insigne is not fixing everything. And if Insigne is out for an extended period of time, oh boy.
Yeah.
I don't know what they look like. I don't know what they do. We'll see.
Yeah. Sean is making the statement. Sean Vergara thinks that you're at Kroger at the moment. That's why you're.
No. I was actually I was just finishing. We have a teacher work day today, so I have a little one here, and I am finishing breakfast.
Oh, okay. So what's for breakfast?
Well, we just made bagels and making an omelet. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, continue on with breakfast and making sure that bagels and omelet go.
Kroger is a very good guess, but no, today is just making breakfast while we do this.
Hanging out. All right. So, Jarrett, you'll be back with us tomorrow, yeah?
Yes.
All right. So that's Jarrett Smith. That's it for our Jarrett hanging out here in hour number 1. Yeah, the TIFO is fantastic, by the way. Loved what the supporters groups did for the TIFO, and it was the throwback to Anton's goal against San Jose when he was in the the concrete and cherry pie outfit, as I call it. So well done by the 17s and the supporters groups for the TIFO. Well done by the club showing their support for Anton. And it was something that was also done around the league, and respect to the home sides that had their moment of that had their moment celebrating Anton walks as well. And it was very emotional up in Charlotte for sure, and you knew that that everything was obviously very emotional where Anton was concerned around the league. But yeah, and also props to a lot of the media relations departments around the Major League Soccer who had the seats available for Grant Wall. You might have seen pictures. Atlanta United had a seat reserved for Grant, and it was the prime seat. It was the Vaughn McClure seat, and as it should have been. So well done by the communications department for Atlanta United and all the other clubs that had seats reserved for Grant here in the opening weekend as well. So, and obviously, when she gets her schedule figured out, we'll have Jessica Charman on a fairly regular basis to catch up with everything from her perspective, because I know that GK Union is going to want to be discussed. I know that Charlotte's going to want to be discussed. Jess will want to talk about the rest of the league. She'll probably want to talk a little Reading too. So once again, shout out to the supporters groups for the TIFO with Anton Walks. Fantastic. Shout out to the communications departments around the league for helping celebrate Anton and celebrating Grant Wall. Very, very cool stuff around the board. So it is getting ready for the top of the hour. And so since I can play things back and it's got to be a larger volume, but when I'm trying to do a read and it has to be a smaller volume, we're back down to 11. So because it's one more than 10. So we'll get our read ready for our friends at Lemonize and hopefully not be drowned out by the music because it's not at 12. So here we go. For odor-free, clean, fresh air, one place you need to go. That's a Lemonize service. Proud sponsors of everything STH. QR code over my left shoulder for those of you watching on Twitch. Deodorizing enclosed spaces like houses, apartments, and condos, Lemonize has created a customized solution that eliminizes all organic odors, including those like pet cigarettes and food. Realtors and property managers use the Lemonize service to eliminate bad odors to help them sell or rent their homes that much faster. It's a turnkey process. Makes it easy to work with said realtors and property managers. Kind of the environment we like that these days. Very green way going about getting rid of odors without any kind of toxic residue whatsoever. Different than our favorite masking agents like Febreze that we might have either under the sink or above us in the cupboard, because when we reach under the sink or above us in the cupboard to grab said masking agent and spray it into the air, there's a reason you call it a masking agent, because that masking agent does exactly that. Masks the odor. It doesn't attack the problem all the way down to the molecule like our friends from the Lemonize do with their proven scientific formula. One of two ways that they can help you address your problem, either by the cubic foot or parts per million, to come up with a price that's affordable for you, offering results in 24 hours or less. If you have any questions, frequently asked or otherwise, one place you need to go is the website. The website is lemonize.com, but do us a favor here at SDH. After the .com, go /Atlanta so they know what part of the world that they are reaching out to you from, so they can help you attack your issues. So your full homework assignment, as I have grabbed my pen, ELIMINIZE.com /Atlanta, Lemonize.com /Atlanta, Lemonize service, proud sponsors of everything SDH on a Reaction Monday, where we're talking about everything going on in Major League Soccer, probably more around the league tomorrow than today, because today a lot of you want to talk about what you saw with Atlanta and San Jose, and we'll discuss that on a Reaction Monday. Clock has turned 10 o'clock, and that means that we are now in hour number 2. So we'll go back and go through the comments that you guys have brought in this morning. Dave, when Jess joins, hopefully she will talk footy. Rumor has it, yeah. So, yes, scorecards ready now that we are in full season. Now that we are in games that count, we are now in reads that count when it comes to our friends at Lemonize on the top of the hour. So, Hutch, solid 7.5. Thank you. Sean, okay, so here we go. -2 low music volume, -2 lack of addressing the audience. Wow, okay. +1, call out a major brand. -3, didn't stick the landing, a 5.8. So, all right. So, Sean, you know that we have been fighting the volume issue because 12 seems to be too loud for you. And it's loud for me in my ears, and I haven't ever adjusted a setting on my audio board. But 11, which is where it was, which is also one more than 10, seems to be too low. What we need, and I think we have stipulated to this, is an 11.5. Unfortunately, that does not exist on the audio board. You either have an 11 or 12, and I've gone with 11 so you can hear me, unless you just want to hear the music and you don't want to hear me while I read and I'm just mumbling in the background. So Hutch is solid 7.5, Sean a 5.8. Someone needs to kind of keep an idea on these averages and see where we are with these reads. So a good craftsman never blames his tools, Sean. You know that. Don't blame the technology. I could blame internal settings and how they squared things away initially. It's like, okay, here's the deal. Here's what you have to work with. Settings being what they are. They're being their internal settings have been laid out the way that they are. I mean, literally, I could sit there and I could try to do the read. All right. So this would be what it would sound like at 41 if I tried to do the read. Literally, this is what it would sound like. That's the music at 41. You would not be able to hear me one stinking bit. Some folks might think that would be an improvement. Did I? So we'll get to 25 in a second. So, Tom, I got the part of what part of the world you're reaching out from backwards. I know it's trying to, and that's getting it out backwards usually means I end in a preposition, and my mom would be driven crazy if she knew about that kind of stuff. I try to adjust the volume within the track. It is advanced stuff. Yeah, Hutch, I will plan on keep the music down. So, all right. So Sean wants 25. So let's see what 25 sounds like. Just to sit here and let Sean know what 25 sounds like. All right, that's 25. So let's see where we are. That's 25. That's what it sounds like at 25. I still think that's too loud because that's also the end of the track. Yeah, that's 25. If it was in this particular part of the track, I could probably read the promo at 25. So we'll see what we've got there. So that's 25. That's what it sounds like. Yeah, there's no way that's 25. Want to bet? I could take a picture and post it to I could show you. Absolutely. Yeah, so so you're saying it sounds like 12, I know. So I said so Tom said you said what part they're reaching out to you from. So I need to flip that. So that's where we are. Okay, so I need to flip my pronouns is what you're saying. Okay. All right, I got it, Tom. So I need to flip my pronouns. All right. Settle at 18. Yes, exactly. Michael, thank you. So Michael Head probably has analyzed this down to its absolute core. That's why the show is great. The audience ridiculing the host about a commercial read. It's what it's there for. It's what it's there for. And that's the fun that we have here every single morning. That is why we are Soccer's morning show, people. Yes. Oh, okay. I normally do it right. Okay, thank you, Tom. Yes, Colorado is trash, garbage, basura. All three. Yes, they are all three. All right. So around me. All right. So let's get into Season Pass here. So we'll start hour number 2 about Season Pass. First and foremost, show of hands. Outside of the Atlanta match, what have you guys thought about Season Pass so far? My exposure, obviously, because I was inside Mercedes-Benz Stadium and we were all kind of working and watching a match. What have you guys thought about Season Pass so far? Did you dig in early? Did you dig in and look at all the different channels and all the things that folks had for their respective teams? And some teams were fully invested. Other teams are kind of like, maybe we'll get to it later. Even though apparently, according to Pablo Maurer, there are basic tenets that you have to adhere to when it comes to content uploads every single week. And some teams are just kind of like throwing it, and you're just kind of like, yay, it's right there. We're just going to put all this stuff in there and call it something, and there you go. But how much did you watch? How much have you dug in? And what did you think about the 360 coverage? Don't know if you saw any of the other programming that's there. The game coverage, what you thought of play-by-play. Michael Head with a good question here. Did you sync up Mike and Jason? Did it work? Only heard the home. Yeah, right now, this year, Michael, it is only the home team announcers that are going to be made available. So that's the hook this year. And I know that because of the technology that's attached right now, what you have to do is, and I saw this at work at Mercedes-Benz, where literally you had audio technicians from Apple's TV truck come up into the booth for Mike and Jason, where they were calling the match, and trying to orchestrate and figure out with audio Hall of Fame audio engineer Miller Pope. All right, here's the plug. Here's where you will be getting your direct output, and you can send it to the truck however you send it. But this is where you plug in to Mike and Jason to hear Mike and Jason, because that line goes directly into the production truck itself. And I think what you're staring at with, and this is me trying to remember TV Technology 101, it would take yet another path of the other booth into the production truck. And these production trucks may not have the capability to handle both audio lines, so you can have the choice of road or home in these situations. So right now, what Apple has decided to do is in season 1, once they figure out, okay, here's the technology, here's what we need to do, here's how we need to let it ride, then perhaps bring in that second line to have it go into the truck to where you're hopefully not overwhelming the audio guys in the truck to have both lines. So what they decided to do is have the home coverage in year 1 and let them know. Seriously, let them know if you want to have, and I know that we all do, we want to listen to Mike and Jason when they're on the road. Let Season Pass know, if they have any kind of polls or questions or anything. Let them know what you want. Let them know that you want your home team available to you, road and away. And so that's the key here. You'll get to be able to sync up Mike and Jason for home matches, but we want them for away matches as well. So that's the next step I think that Apple has to work forward. Tom with the radio question, what I want to know is if there's a way to listen to the radio feed through Apple if you're at the match. Can't do it with Odyssey as it's like a full minute behind. I think if you watched it, if you had it dialed up on your phone and went through the same steps, just make sure that your phone is charged at 100%, because God knows the data and everything else will absolutely burn a hole in that battery power. Figure out a way to where you can dial it up, and hopefully it has the same capabilities when you're watching, off a remote device, when you're watching off of your phone. If your phone is with you in your pocket with the match going on, something like that, there should be a way to hopefully sync that's what's going on. So that's what, yeah. And so, all right. So Michael, you might have to share how you did it through your DVR with everybody else. Someone has to figure out how to sync Mike and Jason on the radio with video for away games. I had it figured out via DVR. So post it post it here. Let everybody know how you sync that up, because it sounds like it took a while to tackle the problem, but you got it squared away. But yeah, for Season Pass, I want to know what you guys thought about Whip Around, what you thought about 360, what the discussion programs, how many games did you watch, how much of the other stuff have you seen, what do you think about their approach? And World Soccer Talk, I think it was posted here in the Twitch pitch had the early run about what they thought about it. Week 1 first impressions. So here we go. All right. All right. So solid foundation created. This is from our friends at World Soccer Talk. So here's what we're discussing. You can back up the Apple feed 10 seconds at a time, according to Hutch. Cheap transistor radio. Do they even make those anymore? I'm sure they do. A major upgrade over the league's previous media offering. First season pass, single point of access. Viewers had to wade through an alphabet soup. Now it's simple, one location with every game. Second, no blackouts. And this has been huge because this was a question that the boss had. She was wondering about blackouts. And I said, no blackouts. Getting rid of all those descriptions. Picture quality's in 1080p, and you can tell. Visuals are clean, according to World Soccer Talk. Simple Apple logo. And this is part of the thing that I've enjoyed about it. The minimalist graphics package. You don't have to blow me away with a whole bunch of shiny things. If you do it well and do it right, you can be as simple as what we're seeing with Apple TV Plus. I like the way that they're doing things graphically. What is a bit of an adjustment for me is, and this is nerding out when it comes to television production. This is when they go to a replay, they basically take the season pass graphic, dip to black, and then go to a replay. It's different. I know traditionally you're used to some kind of an effect, and the effect for season pass is almost dipping to black before the replay pops up and then dipping back out to black to come back to live action. It's a different look. I like it. It's just a different look to have to get adjusted to, because when you're dissolving, you're used to seeing a fancy effect or anything like that. You get the graphic look from season pass, the multicolor, then you get the shield, and then it dips to black, and then you get your replay. Like I said, it's a different look for me. I like it. Takes a little getting used to, the whole idea of dipping to black instead of wiping through an effect to a play. Once again, this is Christopher Harris, World Soccer Talk. Here's his thoughts. So we'll play his thoughts and let you guys go in as we go. Tuning into Saturday's coverage, found myself trying to understand the viewer experience and the flow of programs. Went into a stream of one of the specific games he was interested in watching, expecting to see a live pre-game segment, but it took you directly to MLS Countdown with Liam McHugh, Kale, and Kyle, BWP, Sasha Kleshchin. So apparently it takes you to Countdown instead of looking for the pregame show. But I think that like last night, it was literally a 19 minutes in kickoff before Rogo and Heath Pierce got the chance to call the match. It was gonna be a while. Harris found himself channel surfing to specific games, then returning to Countdown, who had morphed into the 360 whip around program. Personally, and this is Harris once again, he would prefer a stream that had Countdown, 360, and wrap up combined into one instead of clicking back and forth between the different options. If that is one particular chain of thought, I understand that idea, but what Apple is looking for is analytics for each and every element. They're not going to treat it as one particular straight line. MLS 360, one element. Countdown, one element. Wrap up, one element. So that way they can have metrics that they can sit there and gauge usefulness, viewership, handing it off to proposed sponsors. Here's what you get here. Here's what you get here. Here's what you get here. It's not going to be a straight line for viewers. You're going to have to be a little nimble, at least out of the blocks. Harris relied more on 360 than switching to live games during commercial breaks, returning to 360 a few minutes later. Understand that. I mean, for me, it has gotten to the point to where I am watching more red zone material than I am anything else. Something like that. I'm watching Goal Rush on Premier League Saturdays. I'm watching Red Zone Channel on NFL Sundays. So for me, I'm probably watching the whip around. That's probably where I am. So that's where my gut is with me. Whip around show, according to Harris, needs a lot of work. Early days may be tweaked in MLS 360, doesn't capture the excitement of the league, simply said. And once again, this is Christopher Harris. The show is way too talkative. We're watching MLS 360 to see action from across the league as it happens, not tuning in to hear pundits talk incessantly as games are happening about who's going to win MLS Cup-related topics. To us, the viewers, that's distracting. It takes us away from the very reason we're watching the show, and it creates a brick wall between the games and the viewers. With the Whip Around show, once again, Christopher Harris, World Soccer Talk, we want to see what the best of MLS is. We don't want to hear talking heads. If the league's as fun as MLS writers say it is, show it to us. Honestly, we don't need to see the talent unless nothing's happening or if it's halftime, pregame, or postmatch. Instead of like being the FA Cup Whip Around show on the ESPN Plus, which suffered similar problems, needs to be more like Goal Rush or Golasso show. So, yeah, on the same way with Golasso show, Nico Cantor gets you from match to match. You lay out, you hear the announcers. If that's what you're getting from MLS 360, that needs to be less talking, a little less talk, and a lot more action, quoting Elvis Presley. That's what you've got to get. So if there's more talk and more analysis in 360, I want host, toss, game, action. You're there, you've laid out, game's going on, a little bit of analysis with who's at the table, go to your next match. That's what I'm hunting for. That's what I'm hunting for there from 360. Harris continues. MLS 360 hosts and analysts need to get out of the way, both figuratively and literally. Want to hear the announcers calling the games goals instead of pundits talking over them. We also don't want to see their backs as they occasionally face the screen. And he had a screen cap of all four, McHugh, BWP, Kleshton, and Kalen Kyle, backs to the camera, staring at a game. They need to be off to the side. If this is going to be that 4 shot that we're looking at, and once again, this is me, and this is after the first week. And Harris has a screen cap from DC and Toronto, where literally it is left to right, Liam McHugh, BWP, Sasha Kleshton, Kalen Kyle. And they have their backs turned, and they're watching the match. If that's going to be the look, you need to divide them up 2 by 2. 2 on one side, 2 on the other. Addressing the audience. Referencing what's behind, if that's what they're going for when it comes to this. Like I said, if this was something that was planned and happened more than once, for me, that's unnerving as a viewer. I want to see faces, I want to see hosts talking, or I want to see the game. I don't need to see the backs of folks looking at the match that we should be seeing full screen. So if that's the case, then I need to have them broken up 2 by 2. I need to have them addressing the camera and referencing what's going on behind with whatever match and then going to the match full. Well, let's talk a lot more action. Harris is a fan of 360, but with the tweaks. Seeing the thrilling endings to the games, Atlanta, San Jose, DC, Toronto, Austin, St. Louis was fun to watch. It's a taste of what MLS 360 can be. Best part of it, encourages viewers to watch even if their team isn't playing. MLS, and now the next column for Harris, the next subheading. MLS 360 has a Taylor Twellman problem. What's intriguing about 360 is how much of a difference Taylor Twellman made to the show on Saturday night. You could cut the show into 2 halves before he arrived on set and the difference he made once he appeared. Without any shadow of a doubt, Twellman injected far more energy and rapid-fire conversation into the show. He only appeared because El Tráfico is postponed due to weather. However, MLS executives need to figure out a way to either clone Taylor or have him appear on the show more often, because without him, it was nowhere near as good. If MLS improves the show, 360 may become appointment viewing for soccer fans on Saturday nights, which is what it should be anyway. For instance, the show starts at 7:30, continues through the night after midnight. As long as the games are engaging, don't mind commercial breaks. Viewers can watch as games kick off at 7:30 in each of the time zones. So speaking of kickoff times, MLS is up to its old tricks again. Games not starting at scheduled times. In the past, you could have blamed it on the networks. Now there's no excuse. Start the game at the kickoff time like every other soccer league does, please. That's Christopher Harris. Still early days for a season pass. So I'm sure a lot of the technical gremlins are going to be fixed, but there were several issues with audio through the night. Inter Miami had a majority of the issues. Home radio announcers sounded like robots for portions of the game. Audio from Kieran Gibbs was barely audible pregame. Also heard a hot mic several times during the night where private conversations could be heard over mistakes, as a mistake. Then, speaking of concerns, number one concern about Season Pass was the negative impact of Fox Sports. Don't know if you saw the studio that Fox had for their coverage, for their match, NYC in Nashville. But it literally looked like they just rolled up a desk in front of a DoorDash curtain and showed that. That's disrespectful to John and Stu. And I think it's disrespectful to the league. I know that you only have 34 matches this year or however many you have. But if you are going to put a product on the air, I would hope that you would show some respect to those who are sitting there at a desk calling a match, in as much as I would have liked to have seen them at Geoda's. If it's your network game, be there, first and foremost. But as a cost-cutting measure, you're not even using your standard set that you use for discussions that has all the production elements behind you and all these kinds of things. And like I said, this may have been because there could be some construction. They could be doing some things. I don't know. But if nothing was going on when, yes, Michael, they should have ironed the backdrop. Absolutely, they should have. But if there was nothing to hold back a standard remote production from Fox, you know, the glass set that we see with them, with the 3 or 4 shots with the league play and things like that, where you have all the production and editing and everything else going on behind the glass doors behind. If they couldn't use that set for whatever reason and they had no other place to go, I understand. But if this was something that was this was a lockdown decision, hey, we're going to have John and Stu call it remotely, and DoorDash is our main sponsor, and we're just going to roll out this tent flap that wasn't ironed. Do better. Fox, do better. I don't know if you plan on it, but I thought it was disrespectful to the league, and I thought it was disrespectful to John and Stu to have them in that setup, unless there's something we don't know about construction and sets and things like that, and they will not be there for the entire season. If they're going to be there for the entire season and this was a pre-decided idea, then it's profoundly disappointing from Fox. But yeah, it just looked completely and totally different. Night and day. You saw the investment that Apple TV Plus was making. For whatever reason, you didn't see the investment that Fox was making. So, and yeah, there you go. That's just the biggest thing there. The MLS season app interface, according to Harris, he said it needs work, making it easier to find games on demand. That's the big thing for me, and that's the question I have for you. I was trying to watch the game last night on demand, and it didn't seem to be ready in time, I would hope. And I was assuming that they waited until after all of the matches in the week are completed before you can watch replays. I don't know if that's the case or not. But were any of you able to watch the full replay of the match? Did it exist for you? Does it exist, period? Because I want to sync up radio for the final 20 minutes. All right. In summary, MLS isn't perfect. If it's not for everyone, but MLS Season Pass has a lot going for it. So that's Christopher Harris's review at MLSsoccer.com. So I know that you guys were getting into this discussion. No radio for replays. That's profoundly disappointing if that is, in fact, the case, Hutch. That's disappointing. That it should be there, but I wish if it's not, then that's just wow. So Wiley, you're going to watch St. Louis and Austin tonight. Yeah, and that's the biggest thing too. You want to get into Q2? It's too small. Capacity of 22. I was there for the first ever event, the Nigeria-U.S. Women's Friendly. Place was sold out. Hard to get to. The commuter line, I think, is going to be ready by next season to get out to Q2. But 22,000, it's too small. And I think there's only one place. There's only one place, really, when it comes to a possible expansion that you can expand to, because it is so cramped and it was jammed into such a small space. It would be in the end zones where you would have to expand at Q2 to get it above where it is right now. But if you expand in the supporters section, when you're watching, the supporters are off to your right. That end zone, if you were to pull off the roof and go up, you're going over highfalutin parking. And literally you would have to build the structure in that parking lot and build it up over the supporters group section. And then as you're looking from press box to camera left end zone, that's really the only place where you actually have room, because there's like a walking plaza and things like that where the concessions are, or some of the concessions are, the team shop. That up there, that's the only one where you could do it easily, but you'd be taking out walking spaces and things like that. That's the easiest part where you could add seats. The bottom of the screen, as you're watching at Q2, where you have the 200 level and the boxes and broadcast booth and press box, there's no way to go up and above that, because you're right up against a property line, and literally there's maybe 100 yards, and it's a sidewalk to go around Q2. Then you have a creek that has been fenced off, and then you have your property owners that are next to you. So there's no space, unless you buy them out and build up, that you could build up further at Q2. And then as you're looking away from the camera, you're looking to the far sideline. There's no room there either, I don't think, because once again, it's a little bit of walking space. It's a funky property line, and apartments are over there. So end zones are really the only place where you can expand Q2 and build a 300 level right now. So we'll see. We'll see where that is. But yeah, Q2 is too small. 22,000 is way too small. Oh, you're talking about St. Louis's stadium. Yeah, Wiley, St. Louis's stadium, formerly known as Centene, I think that's also too small. Yeah, it is too small. And so we'll see what it looks like. And if there's a possibility that they can expand, we'll see what the space is like. And if you're not playing a Country Grammar as a goal song for St. Louis City SC, then something's wrong. If I don't hear I'm from the Lou and I'm proud, they have erred in any kind of a celebration for St. Louis. Although when they did test the sound system, they did break out Country Grammar by Nelly, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever. That has to be integrated somehow into St. Louis City SC's workup. Goal call, that'd be fantastic. But yeah, I think that St. Louis's stadium is too small. Q2 is too small. You need to be like Snapdragon. You need to be out in San Diego. You need to be 30,000 plus. Oh, no. What'd you do, Ricky? Do I have to hit the breaking news sounder again? See, when intrepid Twitter searcher Ricky does things. Thank you. Excellent. Okay. Public service by Ricky Ricardo. Public service. Looking for full replays on MLS Season Pass, go to the game page, scroll to the bottom, and long press there. Okay. It says press and hold for 3 versions. Thank you. Public service by Ricky Ricardo. Public service. Bless you, my son. Press and hold, I guess like the OK button or something. Children's Mercy Park. Let me check that really quickly. Children's Mercy Park capacity, or whatever they call it now, whoever is So Children's Mercy Park, Soccer Specific Stadium, $18,467 for soccer and $25,000 for concerts. Yikes. Looking at it, and it's pinned in too. Okay, that's disappointing. So it's an 12-year-old facility, almost a 12-year-old facility. It'll turn 12 in June. But yeah, $18,467 in Kansas City. That is small. That is small. Tofka, I'll see if I have an answer for you. Why doesn't Fox just broadcast the Apple broadcast in totality? Why bother having a different team set, etc.? They just want to have their own voices. They want to have their own voices attached to it. I mean, if you have the capability to broadcast a match on your network, whomever you are, you still want to have your voices attached to it. I know the irony of Keith and Mo doing the match on Apple TV Plus was not lost by anyone. Emilio, Kansas City's average attendance is pretty close to 100%, if not a little more. If you are, I mean, literally, it's like think of a simulcast in the past. You're going to want to have your voices attached to it. Almost think of it like radio. If you are, I mean, if you're an Atlanta United game, I mean, let's take the game in and of itself. NYC and Nashville. And congrats, by the way, to a friend of the show, Lucas Panzica, who is now part of the broadcast team, 104.5 The Zone, the official broadcast partner for Nashville SC. If you have the opportunity at Geodis to hear 104.5 The Zone, even if Glenn Crooks, friend of the show, was available, you're going to want to hear your guys. So along those same lines, if you're a network and you have simulcast availability, you're going to want to hear your guys. You don't want to surrender that piece of real estate that you have to the other guy. If you're Fox, you want to hear John and Stu. You don't want to hear the irony of Keith and Mo on your air from a different product. It's a different network. You want to let that network be that network. You want to have your network be your network. You don't want to have any kind of crossing of the streams. So that's what you're staring at. That's why Fox and FS1, Fox Deportes, they're going to want to have their own voices attached in these simulcasts. That's why TSN wants to have their voices attached. That's why you're going to want to hear Luke Wildman or whomever, if it's the Vancouver announcers, Peter Shad or whomever. If it's Luke, it's Luke. If it's TSN, you want to hear TSN voices. You don't want to hear whoever called Toronto and DC calling a match being broadcast back to Canada. You want a TSN crew, even if it's a remote, you want to hear your voices. It's just a very territorial thing if you're a rights holder, Tofka, where I want mine, I don't want yours. Literally, it's no offense, but I want mine, I don't want yours. And like I said, the irony that was Keith and Mel were broadcasting for Apple TV Plus, that was not lost on folks. But no, literally this is my property. This is my thing. I want my voices on it. Therefore, Eric Shanks and everybody at Fox is going to sit there and say, John and Stu, you're calling that one, even if it's in front of an unironed DoorDash tent flap. So, yeah, it is strictly a territorial thing, Tofka. That's all it is. You don't want any kind of stream crossing there. So, that's where it goes. Okay, so also you can go into settings, turn off scores so they don't show up on the thumbnails in the main page. Yeah, and Crunk might be right on. Can see the NFL doing this if they don't do it already, having the option to hear local radio cast via TV is an option. I think Crunk, it might be something that Major League Soccer passes along to other networks kind of by default. And the other networks and sports will sit there and go, ooh, that's a great idea. I think we'll do that. And Major League Baseball could already do that with Apple TV Plus. if they follow along the same technological lines and add that as an option for their brunch package on Sundays or whenever they do it, I think that Apple could probably give you the local radio option for the Major League Baseball package, considering that they already have the idea squared away for Major League Soccer. I could see them doing that for any of their properties that are attached to Apple TV Plus. I could see Apple TV Plus doing that for baseball next season or coming up quick. If they dig it and they figure it out and it's kind of cool and they've got it and fans like it and all that kind of stuff, I could definitely see Apple TV Plus doing that for Major League Baseball. So like it is. It's just having a line available in the production truck and having audio coming out of the radio booth and going from there into the truck. Bang, done. That they got the space for. So we'll see. Let me go back and see what you guys were thinking about Plus here. Let's see. And yes, thank you, Ricky, for the public services that we have. Katie Weaver, happy with Season Pass. Good visuals. Enjoyed getting to see the anthems and tifos and watching the replays. Last night, I think that Apple TV Plus kind of got caught between ideas. They only showed one anthem and not two. Rich, I'm one of the many people freaking out over the highlights not being on YouTube anymore, willing to give it a shot and learn new ways. I didn't know that they were not on YouTube. I mean, literally, what I am, what I'm looking for is, and honestly, what I did, Rich, when I was trying to find things, I literally was going on YouTube and doing a keyword search, and it would pop up because, somebody has found it, they've clipped it, and they posted it on their own. Even if it wasn't on the Major League Soccer YouTube channel, other folks posted key moments, like all of the goals that you scored against Columbus. I'm sure if you did a Philadelphia Union search, I'm sure it would be up there somewhere. Let's see. Yeah, add a team logo would make a difference on the score bug. I know that, and I understand what they're doing is that they're going by the color of the jersey on that day. And you see on the Premier League coverage, they do the same thing. They don't do logos, but they'll do 3-letter abbreviation, and it's also larger. So those of us who, will wear glasses in certain situations, we're not sitting there squinting going, what? You'll see larger font. And if you compare, say, Apple TV Plus and Peacock or NBC, however you want to phrase it, larger font, block lettering, jersey color, regardless of what the jersey color is. It's not just like if it was Newcastle, it's not, sorry, Alex, it's not just black background, 3-letter abbreviation, score. It is literally, if they're wearing that third kit, the purple kit or something, then it would be purple background, block lettering, score. So we'll see. We'll see what's going on. Katie, Bally kind of does exist at the moment, but it may not exist for much longer. Happy with Season Pass, good visuals. Let's see. Tafka, torn on scheduling. Feel like having all matches at 7:30 minus a couple national broadcasts is both limiting and breakneck exciting. I mean, think about it like the National Football League. Think about it like the NFL, where you're looking at it from the perspective of 6-7 kickoffs at 1 o'clock. Then you've got a couple at 4 and a couple at 4:25. All those 1 o'clock kickoffs we're used to, whether we're at a game ourselves locally or we're watching the out-of-town game or we're watching the game that's been given to us on the network affiliate or we're watching Red Zone. Those 1 o'clock games for East Coast, for National Football League, we're all locked in. And that's what Major League Soccer is trying to create with their unified kickoff on the East Coast, and then work your way, from time zone to time zone, a couple of 8:30s, a 9:30, and 10:30s. So it's all about uniformity. All about uniformity. And like I said, Topka, think about it like the National Football League. 2 time slots would be better, 4:30, 7:30. Right. 4:30 on the West Coast isn't prime viewing. You want that evening time slot. You want the evening time slot in the West Coast. So you're going to get 7:30 across the board. You're going to get 7:30, 8:30, 9:30, 10:30. That's what you're going to get. Like to watch your club's match in full and watch 360 for the other time slot. That's where we are. I mean, a lot of folks want to watch. Thank you, Ricky, for posting that, because I was having problems trying to figure out how to watch the replay. Nick's, in theory, I like the most games on Saturday, but on home match days when I'm gone for 6+ hours, I will miss most games, as I did this past weekend. Yeah. Interesting, Ricky. I'd like to watch 360 back. It's an interesting thought. Agreed about 360. Make it like Golasso show. Always video. Have them talking over it sometimes. Correct. I think that's the one thing that we're staring at here that would make 360 better. More game, less of hosts. That's better. I don't want, and when I noticed when the back of the 4 backs of the host were shown to me in the screen cap by Christopher Harris, I'm like, can't have that. That's unnerving. It's almost, in a way, it's almost disrespectful to the viewer. As someone who does things on camera, I'm having a conversation with you, whether it's here, whether it's at Mercedes-Benz, whether it's whatever event I'm doing, Atlanta, Chattanooga, high school football, whatever. I'm having a conversation with you. Morning show here. That's why I'm looking into a lens, having a conversation with you. If my back is turned to you, we'll go ahead and do it. All right. So I think I pulled up all the cords. So if I turn my chair around for 15 or 20 seconds, all right, and we're going to have a continual discussion with my back turned to the camera about what's going on in Major League Soccer, whatever we want to talk about, whatever's on our minds. I've got this. We're supposedly both looking. You're looking over my shoulder to what the hosts are staring at and what they're seeing. That, to me, is unnerving, because I have to go through them to look at the monitor until it's full. Until that monitor is full, showing me what's going on with DC and Toronto, having to look over someone else's shoulder almost puts me in a movie theater. And the people in the row in front of me are the ones talking, and they've got popcorn and drinks too. And it's just, I'm having to look over them to the game until the game goes full. That's what this looks like to me. That's why I said, and I'm going to turn back around for those of you who are just listening to the show. Let me turn the chair around because it doesn't want to behave. But that's what it feels like. That's what it feels like. It's what it legitimately feels like in this situation. So, I mean, but literally, and Nick's and Katie but Nick's, I love MST3K, by the way. But that's the impression that I get with that initial screen cap from Christopher Harris of World Soccer Talk. It is a vision of, I know you're kidding. But it's just, for those of us that were at Mercedes-Benz and we're keeping an eye on one match, and you see this screen cap and you're going, okay, that looks weird. And it is. I want the hosts, and like I said, this literally is TV production 101, or it's presentation 101. I want to be in a position where I'm having a discussion with you. We're having back and forth. There is no back and forth with you if my back is turned to you. And I'm talking to, if I'm Liam McHugh, if I'm talking to BWP, Sasha Klesch, and Kalen Kyle, I'm just talking to them because they're off my shoulder. It's almost like you've taken the viewer out of the experience and, hey, here's what's going on the big screen. There needs to be interaction there. You've got to split them up. You've got to have them turn to the camera and have conversations with the viewer and with each other, and then reference what's going on behind you instead of staring at what's going on behind you like we're all watching Top Gun Maverick. That, to me, that's just unnerving, and that's probably going to bug me for a long time until they address that idea, and that show is completely and totally video. You've got hosts, you've got folks. I mean, literally, if you took Golasso Show from CBS Sports Network and did that in that big-ass studio, that's, I think, your template for what it should be. But that's unnerving now. The more that I process it, it's very, very unnerving and almost disrespectful to the viewer with the host's backs turned and referencing a monitor. Go full. If you're done talking to the viewer, go full. Talk about the match. Everything should be forward to you as you're watching, not with my back turned to you and we're all watching. So, yeah. So there you go. That's my 2 cents on hosts and 360. So, Knicks, 3 windows, 4:30, 7:30, 10:30. Still hard to catch more than one. 4:30 is only broadcasting, national broadcasting, and devoted time. Tafka would make that a devoted time slot. There are going to be some 1 o'clocks, I think, Tafka, 1 o'clock Easterns. So keep an eye on that going forward. Yeah, folding table plastic banner. Yeah, Michael, it did look ridiculous. That's disappointing. Sean, awful announcing has, let me see if I can find it. I think awful announcing has the look of the comparison for both. Let me see if it exists somewhere. Because I saw it, I think it was in the Awful Announcing newsletter where it was. I think that's where I saw it. So I think, Awful Announcing newsletter was where I think it was posted. So keep an eye. But yeah, there's a screen cap out there where you have folks, and literally it is the comparison of one and the other, and it is one over the top of the other, and it's embarrassing. It literally is embarrassing. So keep an eye on all of that. Let me see if it's in the Fox setup. No. Okay. But yeah, in the Awful Announcing newsletter, I believe they had a screen cap of one over the other, and you could tell the difference. Definitely could tell the difference. So for clarity, Tafka, 3 to 4 matches at 4:30, 3 to 4 at 7:30, 3 to 4 at 7:30 Pacific, equivalent Central and Mountain to the extent that they're played. Yeah, looked like local access TV. At least it was sponsored. Yeah, like Wayne's World. Yeah, it was pretty bad. Okay, Wiley, you did watch the Atlanta replay. Good to know. Full replay when you got home, fell asleep. I know a lot of you are talking about how folks looked. Press and hold. Absolute wizardry. It was. Let me see. Going through your comments here in hour number 2. Crunk. ESPN kind of did it with the CFP National Championship. Whole game was shown in some capacity. Mothership had the regular cast. Other channels had the same visual feed with local radio voiceovers. Yes. Okay. Tom, be really awesome if the team app had some type of way of getting a direct link to the radio broadcast to listen in stadium without delay. Remember, you can get it also on the Odyssey app, although I know that the Odyssey app is behind about 30 seconds traditionally, anywhere from 30 seconds. I've seen it to 1:10 on occasion. So see if that would happen. Katie Weaver. Other sports down here with Apple Plus, will we get enhanced baseball too? Are Braves still Bally? Does Bally exist? We talked about enhanced baseball and the probability. Braves still Bally? Yes. Does Bally exist in a skeleton form? Bally is trying to get out of the sports rights business because they've also skipped their monthly loan payment, $140 million on their loans for Diamond. And Diamond is the offshoot of Bally. So technically what you have are the regional sports networks. They have been spun off from the parent company. And Sinclair Broadcasting has a lot of different properties. They have Tennis Channel. They've got 7 gazillion television stations that broadcast news. Your favorite local affiliates. It is revenue was up to $2.73 billion. Operating income up. Everybody's up. So they have Diamond Sports, which is what they spun off of themselves, the Sinclair Television Group, Tennis Channel, Dielectric, Kaiser Capital, and Sinclair Investment. So, but the big guns for our Sinclair are their local news affiliates, the Tennis Channel, and the Bally element, which was spun off into what is referred to as Diamond Sports Properties or something like that. So Diamond has been spun off, and basically Sinclair is saying, we want nothing to do with that. It's losing us money. They were underwater when they bought it. They were underwater billions of dollars when they bought the regional sports networks from, I forget, it was ESPN and Fox. I forget what the order was. But when they purchased those sports networks, they were underwater billions of dollars. And it has turned into a boondoggle when it comes to that particular property. So Sinclair is saying, oh, no, Diamond is different than us. We've spun them off. And they're trying to have Diamond surrender all of their broadcast rights to all of their properties. It's like, nope, too expensive. We're going to declare we're not going to make our loan payment this month of $140 million. We're going to declare Chapter 7. So that's the next step in all of this. The regional sports networks are going to declare Chapter 7. It looks like Major League Baseball will be in a position to either buy back or take over, depending on how much money MLB wants to spend, to either buy back or take over all of those rights from all of those regional networks that have all of these properties. What it means for basketball, don't know. Hockey, don't know. Other sports, don't know. And there are other regional networks that are in the AT&T family that Astros, Dodgers, etc. AT&T has said last week that they want to get out of the sports business, and they want to have Major League Baseball buy those rights back. So you're having a lot of these regional sports networks properties, Diamond and AT&T, sit there and go, we don't want this anymore. So you ask if Bally exists. It exists in name. As Ricky says, Braves are still on it. And then, yeah, it exists for another few weeks, but then who knows? Boo Bally. Yeah, and they just have not done the product any justice. So across the board, I think it's 17 RS regional sports networks. They have not done the property justice across the board at all. Ricky, public service announcement. Red Bull seemed to be the only team who posted their highlights to YouTube. Kind of funny because they lost. David, slightly staggered kickoffs would prevent no action halftimes. Go from 7:30 to 7:42. That's something to consider. But once again, if you are Apple TV, you want everyone drawn to your product. You want everybody to say, it's like, oh, it's halftime. We're going to go to the halftime show with all the people sitting on leather chairs or whatever they were, recliners. You want to draw as many eyes to your singular product as possible. You don't want to make it like the National Football League yet, where you have your favorite host and your favorite co-host wrapped around a table doing a minute and a half worth of highlights for the game that you're watching specifically, and then you go back to the booth and all these other things. MLS wants to draw all the eyes to their central product, so you won't get staggered kickoffs. Everybody's going to be 7:39. unless you're a solo, when it was 8:19 last night in Seattle, Eastern time. You're going to have centralized kick at 7:39 Eastern time or 39 after the hour in each time zone. It won't be staggered because they want to draw as many eyes to these new products and all these shiny new toys as humanly possible. So we'll see what happens there. Knicks. Having backs turned was odd to you too. To bring in multiple people that had never broadcast before on the same team. Yeah, and you're gonna get growing pains because with all of the folks that are sitting around each other, it's going to take a while. And they did do practicing last week and a couple weeks before to kind of come up with some kind of a rhythm and having folks understand, okay, when to hop in, when not to hop in, and for folks like Question and BWP to get adjusted to doing television first and foremost. So it's gonna take a while to sit there and get into rhythms and understand, okay, here's what we need. Here's what we need to do. Here's what we need to have, that kind of stuff. It's going to take a while for Question and BWP to grab their broadcast legs. Are they going to criticize openly, or are they going to be reserved in their criticisms because of the players that they just left from playing in the league? So that'll be another interesting aspect of it too. I think the on-air talent that we know, they're going to continue their personalities. The newer faces, especially the ex-players, Diego Valeri, et cetera, you wonder how they're going to act. Are they going to be? Are their criticisms not going to be as pointed as they could be because they just recently left the game and they've got friends that are playing in the league? That'll be another element to be a part of. Sam, we'd rather have Deuce, Stu, Taylor, BWP, and Charlie Davies. But once again, when you have different networks, you're not going to be able to cross any streams. You're talking about the game on the app. Manchester United apparently has it on their app, handy when they're driving. So Michael Valverde you're in North Carolina, did not get local radio option. That's weird. That is weird. Very, very weird. Yeah. There are a lot of folks, Will, that are not fans of Sinclair. You follow it up with, you got friends who used to work at Sinclair, and they're just as bad at treating their employees as they are providing a product. I have friends who have worked at Sinclair as well, and they have seconded your opinion. OG. Probably wish they had that Dish and YouTube TV money now. Yeah, no doubt. Will. Hopefully for Major League Baseball, it allows them to buy out the RSNs, put them all on MLB TV with no blackouts. And yeah, you've not been shy about your feelings on Rob Manfred, but if he ends blackouts, give him benefit of the doubt, even if he did stumble into the situation falling over backwards. There is a match race to try to figure out who is the worst commissioner. Bettman, Silver, Goodell, Manfred. It's a match race. Okay. Ricky says they need to fix the wrap-up show to include Atlanta and St. Louis highlights because as of now, it still starts in the B segment. Okay. And once again, this is something that we've got to look at. If you're Major League Soccer, the edits and adjustments of programming, it's like what is not going on in our product that we need to do. How do we update the programming that's already there? Might be for some late nights in getting everything adjusted, but it's just like SportsCenter when they do the wheel. It's like, okay, here's the highlights, and then you drop in an anchor read to fix like that half hour later. You drop in an anchor read to go over a new round of highlights for late games and stuff. Then you just pick it back up. It's like just one gigantic VO. Then you bring the program, you go to commercial break, and you bring the program back in progress where it was. So that is definitely an edit that should happen if you don't have product that is up to date. I know that Will's already ranking his commissioners. Best to worst. Garber, Silver, Bettman. See, Bettman, Goodell, and Manfred for me, they're like way down the line. when you look at commissioners. But I know tomorrow we can talk more about Atlanta United, what you guys thought about the match in and of itself. We got to see, because we went down the season pass rabbit hole today. Once again, that's what the show is for. Went down the season pass rabbit hole. Reminder: tomorrow we have games of the week. It is Lassiter and Sequoia on the high school side, and that will be, I believe, 5:30, 7:30 at Sequoia. So we'll see folks there, and that'll be live on the SDH app. Lassiter and Sequoia for the first round of games of the week. Lakeside and Riverwood is your Friday doubleheader. Lakeside class of so Will in his that's why Manfred's so far off, and thank you guys for all the kind words about seeing me on the Halo, adding prescription to victory this year, and good to see all of you guys there. Great to be back on the board. I will be adding. There will be a co-host added to the halftime stuff, and I know it sounded like 2 minutes and 50 seconds flies by with one host with me. So we're going to be adding a second host coming up in short order, and we will see what's going on. Will, I graduated Lakeside far before you did, so. So it was great to be back up there on the big board, doing a halftime, and prescription for victory. We'll be doing that all season long. Keep an eye on that. Tomorrow, also, I think the MLS Next Pro schedule is released, and then that schedule starts at the end of March. So we'll keep an eye on that as well. Chattanooga and Huntsville, I believe, had a 2-2 draw on the weekend too. But tomorrow we'll get more into what you guys thought about the game, what you guys thought about players, all that kind of stuff. Once again, we'll get into Tuesday thoughts. Tuesday thoughts will almost be a carryover of Reaction Monday, considering we spent hour number 2 talking about Season Pass. OG, summary of the weekend, whether it was the new broadcast ecosystem or the teams themselves, there was a fair lack of timing, precision, and chemistry, punctuated by spectacular moments and chaos, intense emotions, and sheer joy to be back in season. It was good overall. OG's really got it pegged. OG definitely has it pegged. Is the DJ in his booth the same guy that was doing the yes, it's DJ EU. Yes, Emilio. It is definitely DJ EU. And I forget what your reference was earlier in the show, but I think you and I might be the only ones that got the reference, the player reference from earlier. Oh man, I can't think of who it was. But yeah, you had a really nice baseball card reference for me earlier in the show, and I forgot who it was. Okay, so today, oh man, we barely even got into the news of today. U.S. lost to Mexico in the final of the U17s, lost 3-1. Fouls by Duran Ferry gave Mexico 2 PKs in the 3-1 loss. Soccer on TV today. Remember, late night, Portland, Kansas City. That's on at 10:30. That was pushed back by 2 days by Mother Nature. Championship, Swansea, Rotherham at 3. Villarreal, Getafe at 3. Granada, Malaga at 3. The Argentine Primera is on, triple header. Barracas Central, Gimnasia La Plata's at 3. Racing Club Lanús at 5:15. Central Cordoba, Argentinos Juniors at 7:30. Doubleheader in Serie A. 12:30, Hellas Verona, Fiorentina. Lazio and Sampdoria is at 2:45. So we'll get into no, that is not what I touched. Please, people. Odds portal. All right. Juice boxes for the matches for today. And we'll get into some of the news of the day also before we go. But no, that's what the show's all about. If we go down a rabbit hole about MLS Season Pass for an hour, that's what it's all about. No worries. That's why it's all Soccer's morning show. We go all over the place. Lazio, big favorite, hosting Sampdoria at 245 at a minus 227. Let's see. What do we have also on the board? 3 o'clock. Barracas Central is a plus 152 with Gimnasia being a plus 200, basically. Swansea, big favorite at home against Rotherham at a minus 182. Villarreal, a big favorite at home at a minus 152. Getafe's north of plus 500. Bunch of campeonatos continuing in Brazil. Primera in Colombia. Atlético Nacional, a big favorite at home against Huila at a minus 244. Racing Club, a favorite at home, minus 118, hosting Lanús at a plus 350. Segunda Division, Liga MX Femenil, Monday Night Football, 6:05. Monterrey, obviously a big favorite against Necaxa. Let's see. Central Cordoba, a home dog against Argentinos Juniors. Argentinos Juniors, a -110. Doubleheader, basically, in the 8 o'clock hour, Liga MX Femenil. Chivas, big favorite at Mazatlan. And Tigres, a +108 at Pachuca. Portland and Sporting Kansas City. Portland is a +104. Sporting Kansas City is a +234. Your draws a +275. Liga MX, Monday Night Football. Leon is a +149, hosting Monterrey at a +166. Your draws a +250. Don't forget to join the Fantasy League if you haven't. Also, big. Join the Fantasy League. Thanks again to Jason Wright, the Jason Wright Agency, for everybody who has joined in so far. Go to the Jason Wright Agency on Facebook, Jason Wright with a WAGEN on Twitter, Ricky Ricardo, if you would please, once again, post the link in the Discord for folks who have not joined the league yet. And folks can then join the Fantasy League because there'll be like prizes and stuff. Once again, thanks to Jason Wright and all of his engagement and involvement there for the Fantasy League here in 2023. Yeah, no doubt. San Jose had the big juice box number. Yes, it is. Gambling is definitely, in fact, bad. Will have home friendlies at John Hunt Park, the old airport. March 4 and 14 home schedule starts at Joe Davis in mid-May. So that's definitely good to see that there. News of the day. Let's get into that before we go. And I'll see if I can find what's up. Obviously, Manchester United winning a trophy. And Roy Keane saying that because Eric Ten Hag danced that he needs to resign. Grow up. Stop it. Spurs beat Chelsea 2-0. Celtic and Rangers, if you missed the Scottish Cup, it was crazy, nuts, fantastic on CBS Sports Network. Friend of the show, Poppy Miller, was the studio host for that. Bologna beat Inter. Napoli, 18 points clear now. Mbappe is equal to the PSG goals record with their win at Marseille. You had the action of the weekend in the Premier League. Atletico held on for a draw with Real Madrid in that derby. Also, in the, let's see if there's anything in the Telegraph this morning. Graham Potter, according to Matt Law, facing make-or-break games despite the backing from Chelsea owners at 2-7-6, I believe, if the numbers are correct. 7 losses, 2 wins, 6 draws. That's where we are right now with Graham Potter. So looking at that. And let's see. We've got gossip, rumor, and innuendo. We'll do that before we go. Like I said, it's a Monday. Not a whole lot going on overseas. Mo Salah willing to leave Liverpool in the summer if the club failed to qualify for Champions League. It's from Fichajes. PSG will face competition from Liverpool for AC Milan's Rafael Leao. Merseyside club ready to include Luis Diaz in a make-weight in the deal. Inter Milan and Lautaro Martinez being tailed by Arsenal, Chelsea, and Manchester United. Arsenal in talks with Granit Xhaka over a new 2-year contract extension. Manchester United eyeing up a potential move for Celta Vigo's Gabri Vega. Would cost a reported £26 million. Barca expected to go all out this summer in their pursuit of Ilkay Gundogan. Manchester City contract set to expire. I'd love to know what they're going to pay him with. Arsenal, Newcastle, West Ham have all made offers of near €40 million for Lazio midfielder Sergei Milinkovic-Savic. Newcastle plotting a summer move for Kieran Tierney over at Arsenal. Brentford keeper David Raya says he wants to fight to win a title amidst interest from a number of Premier League clubs, including Spurs. PSG are prepared to let some of their star names depart the club this summer as they want to trim the wage bill by 30%. That's from the Sunday Times. That is to try to see if they can clear up more funds for the possible purchase of Manchester United. But remember, QSI and QIA, they're not tied together. Sheikh Jassim bin Hamad Al Thani and Jim Ratcliffe's Ineos Group would need to raise their initial offers to convince the Glazer family to sell Manchester United. That's from the Telegraph. Ratcliffe missed the chance to meet Avram Glazer after opting to watch his Nice side face Monaco instead of going to the Carabao Cup final. West Ham defender Angelo Ogbonna has confirmed he wants to stay at the club beyond the end of his contract this summer. Inter Miami wants to sign Angel Di Maria as a free agent. Nottingham Forest monitoring Norwich defender Andrew Omobamidele. That's from the 3-letter paper, so keep an eye on that. Take the information at your own peril. Everton and Bournemouth keeping tabs on Coventry City striker Victor Gyökeres. Sorry, John Nason. So that's your gossip, rumor, and innuendo on the morning. I think there's prizes. There's like prizes and stuff. And I don't win anyway, so both you and me. But yeah, join the Fantasy League, Jason Wright Agency on Facebook, Jason Wright with a W, and Jason Wright, AGEN on Twitter. I don't know if it was the last straw for Graham Potter. I really don't at this point, because they meaning the owners, say they have faith in the long-term investment of the rebuild. Matt Law, Potter drew a parallel with Mikel Arteta's Arsenal rebuild, but Law says the comparison with Pochettino's early days at Spurs is more opposite. The message from the owners remains one of wanting to provide support and backing. Growing feeling around Chelsea is that the next 2 games will ultimately be make or break for Graham Potter. Not testing just the faith of the owners, with senior players said to be concerned over whether or not Potter can turn the situation around. New signings shocked by the pressure they're already under and anger among those who are having to be left out of the matchday squad. Todd Bowley was at Spurs on Sunday, scheduled to be joined by co-controlling owner Behdad Iqbali for the games against Leeds and Borussia Dortmund at Stamford Bridge. Given the current circumstances, this is Matt Law, that feels significant enough, and even if he were not sacked immediately after the Dortmund match, if Chelsea failed to win either of the next 2 matches, those around the club, including players, believe there would ultimately be no way back. Plenty of sympathy and understanding for what many believe is the impossible situation Potter has been placed in, trying to manage such a bloated squad. Welcome to Chelsea. But his enforced decisions are provoking frustration and some anger. Telegraph Sport understands more than one of the players left out of the matchday squad for the Spurs game were shocked to find out they would not even be on the substitutes bench. Potter claimed Mateo Kovacic had missed the Spurs game through illness and said Chalobah, Cucurella, Chukwuemeka, and Datro Fofana were unfortunate to be left out of the squad. Cesar Azpilicueta traveled to Spurs, was unavailable after suffering a concussion against Southampton. Decisions facing Potter will get more complex with N'Golo Kante and Christian Pulisic returning from injury, and more players having to be left out of the squad to accommodate them on their return. Keeper Edouard Mendy has seemingly not been in any rush to return from surgery he underwent on a fractured finger almost 2 months ago. A petition was created immediately after the defeat by Spurs, demanding the sacking of Potter, can be attributed to keyboard warriors, according to Law. Despite receiving over 30,000 signatures by Monday morning, Bowley will be relieved that he will not have been able to hear chanting against the 47-year-old from his seat in the director's box. So keep an eye on Leeds and Borussia Dortmund. So that's your run for Graham Potter right now. And that's where they are. Jesse Marshall leads at 17th with the 17th highest wage bill. So he's at Chelsea with the highest wage bill. Yes. ... The transitive property of wage bills. Absolutely. But yeah, so apparently Matt Law says keep an eye on the next 2 matches. Leeds, Borussia Dortmund. We'll keep an eye on that. I have kept you folks for far too long, but it was good to be with you guys at the Benz this past weekend. Jurgen Klinsmann, the new manager of the South Korean national team. Wow. Okay. We got that going for us on a Monday. So, so we got we'll be back tomorrow morning, 9:05 with more stuff. We can talk about Atlanta United some more. That's what we're here for. Yes, Ricky, 1-0-0, top of the East. Getting close. So we'll be talking about all this stuff again tomorrow morning, and we will get you ready for Toronto FC coming up Saturday night. 3 of the first 4 at home. Time to make some hay, and we'll keep an eye on the non-contact injury for Lorenzo Insigne. We'll keep an eye on that when it comes to what we see out of Toronto FC this week. We'll keep an eye on all that post, and we'll try and see if we can catch up with some folks up north as well to get previews for Toronto FC and get the flip side of things. Got a couple of thoughts about who might be, so we'll see if we can bring folks in. Back again tomorrow morning, 9:05. Once again, thanks to all of you. It was great to see you. And thank you for all the kind words about being back on the Halo board, doing 2 things this season and having a lot of fun doing it. So for everybody here at SDH, for Jason, for Jarrett, for Nick, I'm just John. Played safe, everybody. It's the end of the show. It means I get to do this. We'll be back at it again, 9:05 tomorrow morning. Mucho platico.